Okay, this is going to be the first video lesson in the inequalities unit. A lot of stuff that you learned in solving equations and in graphing lines will come back in this unit. So let's talk about inequalities. There are a bunch of types, okay? All right. Now, we're going to talk about just graphing a one variable inequality, okay? Now, there are some things sometimes people get confused with because they're taught, sort of the pattern is not taught correctly, okay? Now, first of all right, when you make these, all we're doing is making a little number line here, okay? All right, so I'm just going to make a little number line and just put a 3, for instance, okay? First thing you have to decide, okay, is the type of circle, all right? If you have this inequality or this inequality, you have an open circle. If you have this inequality and this inequality, you have a closed circle. So open, closed, okay? Now the way you can remember that is this has more inequality, so it has more circle. So in this case, I would have an open circle, okay? Now the second thing you have to decide is which way do you shade. Now, if it eats the variable, shade right. That's the easiest way to do this. So the idea is, if you think about this as like an alligator mouth, if it's eating the variable, I'm going to shade to the right, which means that that's going to be greater than in this case, okay? All right? So this one I'd have -2. Since it has that inequality, I'd have a closed circle. Okay, now if I look at this, what is it eating? It's eating the number in this case, so I would shade to the left. Okay? On this one, 4. All right, type of inequality, got that. All right, it's eating the number, so I would shade left. Okay, this one would be at 5. All right, I'd have a filled in circle. It's eating the variable, so I shade to the right. Okay, now some people get taught, oh, Mr. Evans, this is the way the arrow's pointing. It is not, okay? It is not. And let me explain why. I got -7. Okay, got that line underneath, okay? What is it doing? Okay, it's eating the number, so I'm going to shade to the left. Okay, so that like goes against people's thoughts. Now, why? Okay, in a number line, like these are the numbers, okay? The idea is -7 greater than or equal to -8? And that is true. If you shade it this way, it's no, okay? All right, sometimes people will look in and say, all right, 0 would be over here. If they shade it this way, is -7 greater than or equal to 0? It's not. We would never say negative. So that's why this side is not shaded, okay? All right, so always follow the eats the variable shade to the right. I'll do that example over here with 10. Maybe it makes more sense because it won't have as many negatives. Okay, so I got 10, I got open circle. It's eating the variable, so I shade to the right, okay? Why is that? Because let's say this is 11 and this is 9, okay? All right, so the shading is where the inequality works. That's the idea, okay? So 10 is 10, this is 10 less than, is 10 less than 11? You go, yeah, of course. So it'd be shaded over here. Is 10 less than 9? No, that's why there's no shading over there. So you have to follow the concept of which way does the inequality, which side does it eat, okay? So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and pause your video and go ahead and try these, okay? Go ahead and unpause, all right? This would be 8, open circle, eating the number, so shade left. -1, more inequality, closed circle, eating the variable in this case, so shade right. This one would be 10, closed circle. It is eating the number, so I shade left. This one at 4 would be an open circle. It's eating the variable, so I shade to the right. And these are the ones I gotta be careful on. -2, I would have an open circle. Since it's eating the number, I'm gonna shade that way. And then this would be 14. This would be a filled in circle. And since it's eating the variable, I shade to the right. So don't go by which way the arrow is pointing. Go by, is it eating? If it's eating the variable, shade to the right. Okay, if it's not, shade left. All right, now we're going to build in some basic solving equation stuff. So So we want to solve and graph these, okay? Now remember, big rule, all right? We want to move the separated, and then we want to divide by the attached, okay? All right? Now, this minus 7, I want to do the opposite of that, so that'd be plus 7 and plus 7, okay? 18 plus 7 is 25, okay, and I got this, all right? So that's my inequality, okay? All right, so I have an open or a closed circle. I would have a closed circle on 25. It's eating the I, so I would shade to the right, okay? On this one, all right, I want to get rid of this 9. It's separated, so I would subtract 9. So I got I, bring down the inequality. So the inequality just drops down, almost like an equal sign. So negative 24 minus 9 is negative 33, okay? All right, I got negative 33, open circle. It's eating the number, so I shade to the left, okay? Now, these are attached. How do I get rid of attached? I divide. So in this case, I would divide by 5, divide by 5, okay? 30 divided by 5 is 6, okay? All right, once again, I got 6. I would have a closed circle here. It's eating the variable in this case, so I would shade to the right. Now, here's the big thing. This next part is very important, okay? In this case, because it's attached, I would divide by a negative 3. Divide by a negative 3. This is something I want you to write down. When you divide by a negative number, flip the inequality. Okay? When you divide by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality. So I got I, okay? The inequality now goes this way. 45 divided by negative 3 is negative 15. So I would have negative 15, an open circle. So now it's eating the number, so I shade to the left. So that's something that's very important, okay, when you divide by a negative. Now, let's talk about these. These gave us some issues, all right, in the previous unit. We did this the last time. When you have this thing here, you want to cross multiply that. So 10 times 2 is 20. So I got 20 less than I. So what I would do is 20, open circle. It's eating the variable, so I shade to the right, okay? Don't get confused. I'm multiplying here by 3, all right? So I got, don't flip the inequality. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 45. Okay, this would be a filled in circle. Okay, and I would shade to the left. Okay, all right, so be careful of those things. Okay, what I like you guys to do, okay, is to go ahead and pause your video and go ahead and work with these. Okay, so this one I would want to get rid of the 7 through subtraction. So I got I less than or equal to negative 4 minus 7. Now the rule does not, I'm not going to flip it, it's only when I divide. So that's negative 11, okay? So I got a closed circle here, and because it's eating the number, I'm shading to the left, okay? This one I would add 2, and add 2. That's 17 and I. So that's going to be 17, open circle, it's eating the variable, so I would shade to the right, okay? This one, I got negative 8. I got to divide by negative 8. Now what's going to happen here? That's now going to flip around. So I got I, okay, 40 divided by negative 8 is negative 5, okay? All right, so negative 5, closed circle. It's eating the number, so I'm going to shade to the left, okay? This one I would just divide by 2, divide by 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7, and that is going to be I. So I got 7 here, okay? Open circle, it's eating the number, so there's a left shade. Okay? What do I do with these ones? Cross multiply. So I got I is greater than, okay, 4 times 6, 24. Open circle, shading to the right. Okay? This one I want to cross multiply the 6. So negative 12 times 6. It's negative 72. Okay, all right, I got negative 72. Okay, closed circle. Okay, and it's eating the number, so I'm shading to the left. Okay, all right. Now, let's move into some little bit more complicated solving problems. Okay, all right. Now, what I want to do, okay, what I want to do with these, okay, is I want to move the separated and then the attached. Okay, so the directions, make sure you got to distribute, if that's possible, then move the separated, then move the attached. Okay, as a reminder, what's the separated? This is the separated, this is the attached. Okay, so I would add 17, that's going to be less than or equal to 5i less than or equal to, let's figure out what 53 plus 17 is. That's going to be 70. Okay? And then I would divide by this 5 here. This is I less than or equal to. Figure out what 70 divided by 5 is. It is 14. All right, closed circle here. And since it's eating the number, I would shade to the left. Okay? Now, I got to be careful with this one, number 2. This is the separated. This whole thing right here is the attached. Okay, so you got to be careful there. So I got to move the separated by adding 12 and adding 12. Okay? All right, I'm going to use my calculator for this. Negative 36 plus 12 is negative 24. I got negative 2i here, so I'm going to divide by negative 2. Now, what's that going to do with this inequality? It is going to flip it around, right? Because I divided by a negative number. Okay, negative 24 divided by negative 2 is positive 12. Okay, all right, open circle, it's eating the number, so it is a left shade. Okay, now, these ones are ones you have to distribute. So I have to take this negative 4 and multiply. All right, so we're multiplying here. Okay, so negative 4 times 2 is negative 8i. Negative 4 times 6 is negative 24, greater than or equal to 60. So this is the attached, this is the separated. So I would add 24 and add 24. Okay, keep that negative 8i there. Okay, 60 plus 24 is 84. Now I'm going to divide by a negative 8. Now what does that do? That flips my inequality around. So I got I. Let's figure out what 84 divided by negative 8 is going to be. That's going to be negative 10.5, which is okay. All right. So negative 10.5, an open circle, and I'm going to shade to the left. Okay. All right. So let's do number 4 together. I want to take this and I want to multiply. All right. And that's a 1 there. So 8 times 1 is 8i. 8 times negative 4 is negative 32. Okay, this is the attached, this is the separated. So we'd add 32. Okay, all right, add 32. All right, 100 plus 32 is 132. And then we'll divide by 8. Okay, 132 divided by 8 is 16.5. Right, 16.5 with a filled in circle. Okay, since it's eating the number, I'm shading to the left. Okay. Let me check these before I tell you which ones I'd like you to do. Okay, go ahead and pause your video, okay, and go ahead and work on these problems. Okay, go ahead and unpause. Okay, so this is the attached, this is the separated, so I'd want to subtract 18, okay, negative 36 minus 18 is negative 54. Okay, I'm not changing the inequality because I did not divide by a negative. Okay, so now I'm going to divide by 12, so that's I is greater than negative 54 divided by 12 negative 4.5. Okay, I would have an open circle on that, and since it's eating the I would shade to the right. Okay, now this here is the separated, this here is the attached. So and my attached is negative 3. Okay, so I want to subtract 58, subtract 58. Okay, all right, 148 minus 58 is 90. And now I got to divide by a negative 3. Now what does that do? Now I'm going to flip this around. Okay, so 90 divided by negative 3 is negative 30. I got negative 30, closed circle. It's eating the I, so I shade to the right. Okay, all right, so now we're going to do two distributing problems. So that's a 1 here. So I want to do multiplication, 10 times 1, and 10 times negative 7. So that's going to be 10I minus 70, less than or equal to 8. Okay, this is the attached, this is the separated. So in this case, I would add 70. Okay, that's going to be 10I less than or equal to. Okay, 80 plus 70 is 150. Divide by 10. I is less than or equal to 150 divided by 10. Be 15. Okay, so 15, closed circle, okay, is eating the number, so I shade to the left. Okay, now, this one, I want to take this negative 2, I want to multiply. Okay, all right, negative 2 times 3, negative 2 times 5. So I got negative 6I minus 10 equals 60. Okay, all right, this is the attached, this is the separated. So I add 10, I get 70 less than negative 6I. Now, I want to divide by negative 6. What's that going to do? It is going to flip around the inequality, okay? 70 divided by negative 6, okay, negative 11.6. I don't have to worry about rounding, okay? That's fine, all right? So I got an open circle at negative 11.6, and since it's eating the number, I shade to the left, okay? So that's a basic look at our first lesson on inequalities. Big thing, if it eats the variable, shade right, else shade left. If you divide by a negative, divide only by a negative, you have to flip around that inequality.